Present.
Councilmember Berenson.
Present.
Councilmember Burke.
Present.
Councilmember Serco absent. Councilmember Holman.
Present.
Councilmember Kellogg.
Present.
Councilmember Townsend.
Present.
Mayor Turnbow.
Present. Thank you. Could you all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have no presentations or awards tonight to give out, no personal appearances on our agenda, so I'll move on to staff reports. Mr. Fearborn.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would ask Mr. Carteret to make a staff report for community development.
Thank you, sir. I just want to advise the council on a couple of upcoming hearings on Tuesday, August 21st at 6 o'clock. Our Board of Adjustment will meet here in the council chambers. They have one application. It's for a variance of use for property at 302 West Walnut Street. This property was most recently the location for SMS Auto. I believe the building was constructed decades ago as a fire station initially. So that property, somebody is looking to locate a construction, sales, and service business in that location. Then later that evening at 7 o'clock, our Planning Commission will have two items on their agenda. They're going to discuss an item they've had previous discussions on regarding potential change to our sidewalk requirement, dealing with sidewalk widths. We've been looking at that for a number of meetings, and they want to have further discussion. And then they'll be considering the site plan for improvements at TB Hanna Park. And that's currently what we have scheduled in front of the commission. Concludes staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Carteret. Anybody have any questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Carteret. I would ask Mr. Murdoch to make a report for emergency management.
Good evening. It's been a few months since I've been able to address you all, and so I just wanted to give you an update on some of the things happening within emergency management. A lot of times we get focused on a lot of the things happening locally, so this time I wanted to give you a quick update on some of the things that are happening regionally that we are participating in here in the city of Raymore. As you guys know, we're a member of the MARC, the Mid-America Regional Council, and we use their emergency services. And I just wanted to call your attention to two really big things that they do for us in emergency management and emergency planning. One of them is a citizen education piece, and it's something that they're trying to get the word out more, a site called Prepare Metro KC, where people can go and get checklists, all kinds of inventories, personal preparedness inventories, things like that. And they're also the ones who provide us with most of the literature and handouts that we're able to do at some of our festivals just here within Raymore, and that comes to us at no charge. So that's one thing that they're doing for us. And then the second thing that they do for us is provide us with the Medical Reserve Corps of Kansas City, and through them and the American Red Cross, that would be a huge portion of our medical response should anything happen here within the city. And so the continued benefit of being a part of MARC and continuing to be a part of the conversation is allowing us to have access to all of these different resources should we need them in the case of an emergency. And then the last couple of things that I wanted to call your attention to is Raymore now is a part of, and I think I told you this at the last meeting, the Integrated Warning Team, which is something that I'm a co-chair of throughout the region. And for the first time, we are going to put on a fall conference coming up here in early November to address with all of our regional partners winter preparedness, winter weather advisories, and just like in the spring when we were trying to get the news networks, radio stations, and everybody to simplify their message to the public, we're going to be trying to do that in terms of winter weather, so that as storms approach, we don't get we're going to get a foot of snow and we get a half an inch of snow. And one of the big pushes on that are school districts, obviously, hoping to get accurate information so that they can make their best educated decisions going into the school day. So we're actually excited about that. It'll be the first time that we've put together a conference for the fall. And then lastly, we are a part of WebEOC, which is the Online Emergency Operations Center. And this is our link for Raymore to all the resources within the 9-county area of Kansas City should something happen here in Raymore and we need to access those resources. We literally can get them at the touch of a button. And so I just wanted to kind of call your attention. There's a lot of things obviously that are going on besides that, but just to give you a highlight of a few things that we get as a benefit of being a part of MARC. And that's my report for tonight. Any
Thank you, Ryan.
questions?
Anybody have any questions?
All right,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Murdoch. Would remind the council that we have a very important work session next Monday night, August 20th. One topic only, and that will be the presentation of the city manager's proposed budget to the city council. Last but not least, a major park event coming up this coming Friday night at Hawk Ridge Park, the Mini Mud Run. Registration goes on all the way up to the point in time that the contestants are heading down the slippery slopes. But if you register by Thursday, the registration is $25. Walk-up registration is $30. And times are 5:30 to 9. That concludes staff reports, sir.
Thank you, sir. Any questions of Mr. Fearborn? Okay. Well, we'll move on. We have no committee reports tonight. The next item is the consent agenda. We only have one item on the consent agenda tonight, and I would entertain a motion to dispose of that.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the consent agenda to include item A, City Council minutes, July 23rd, 2018.
I'll second the motion, sir.
Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Motion passes 7 yes, 1 absent. Could I please have the second reading of Bill, I better put my glasses on here, sorry. Bill 3368 by title only.
The second reading of Bill 3368 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to enter into a street improvement reimbursement agreement with Evanbrook LLC to extend Sunset Lane from its current terminus south to the southern boundary of Evanbrook subdivision.
Thank you. Is there a motion to dispose of this bill?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve Bill 3368, approval of a reimbursement agreement with Evanbrook LLC.
And I'll second the motion, sir.
Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3368. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries 7 aye, 1 absent. Could I please have the second reading of Bill 3377 by title only?
The second reading of Bill 3377 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Alexander Open Systems for the purchase and installation of an outdoor wireless system for Recreation Park in the amount of $9,733.04, and authorizing the city manager to approve change orders within established budget constraints.
Thank you. Is there a motion to dispose of the second reading of Bill 3377?
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve Bill 3377, award of contract outdoor wireless systems.
I'll second the motion, sir.
Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded to approve Bill 3377. Any further discussion? Mr. Holman.
Thank you, sir. Just a question for perhaps Mr. Fearborn. I'm kind of excited about this one. I'll be signaling someone. I'm just curious, assuming passage of second read and we award the contract, do we have any idea what the time frame is before that's up and working, before they make the install and we start having better Wi-Fi access at the park?
And he comes out of nowhere.
We talked with Alexander Open Systems today, told them we'd have our paperwork to them by Friday. We'll be waiting on the bonds and everything from them. We're probably looking the week after next getting started. So by the first part of September, we should start seeing some progress in that. It'll be in a kind of a stepped type process. You know, the guest Wi-Fi, unfortunately, will be the least of our worries to start with, but you'll start seeing some things go online probably by the first part of September.
That's great. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jim. Anyone else?
Thanks, Jim.
There's nothing else. All those in favor of the motion? Motion carries 7 yes, 1 absent. Can I please have the second reading of Bill 3378 by title only?
The second reading of Bill 3378 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the mayor and city manager to enter into an agreement with B. Dean Construction, LLC, for the Hawk Ridge Park Amenities Project, City Project Number 18-253-201, in the amount of $2,121,423.58.
Thank you. Is there a motion to dispose of Bill 3378?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve Bill 3378, award of contract Hawk Ridge Park Amenities Project.
I'll second the motion, sir.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3378. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Motion carries, 7 yes, 1 absent. Could I please have the second reading of Bill 3380 by title only?
The second reading of Bill 3380 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri authorizing an amendment to the fiscal year 2018 capital budget to provide additional funding support for the Hawk Ridge Park Amenities construction project.
Thank you. Is there a motion to dispose of Bill 3380?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve Bill 3380, fiscal year 2018 budget amendment, Hawk Ridge Park Amenities Project.
And I'll second the motion, sir.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded to approve Bill 3380. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries 7 yes, 1 absent.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
before we move to the next item, I will, as I have in the past, be recusing myself as I am a member and a homeowner resident of the Herald Estates Homeowners Association. So I will be recusing myself for this next item.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Holman. So could I please have the second reading of Bill 3379 by title only?
The second reading of Bill 3379 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri authorizing the city manager to enter into an asset acquisition agreement with the Herald Estates Homes Association, Inc. for the acceptance of certain private infrastructure subject to certain conditions.
Thank you. Is there a motion to dispose of Bill 3379?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve Bill 3379, Herald Estates Infrastructure Acquisition.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3379. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? 5 yes, opposed? 1 opposed? Motion carries, 5 yes, 1 opposed, 1 recusal, and 1 absent. That'll bring us to new business. Mr. Holman's rejoining us on the dais. Could I please have the first reading of Bill 3382 by title only?
The first reading of Bill 3382 by title only, an ordinance pursuant to Section 67.110 of the revised statutes of Missouri, levying general and special taxes in the City of Raymore, Missouri for the year 2018.
Thank you. Is there a staff report, sir?
Thank you, sir. I would ask Ms. Watson to make a staff report on this agenda item.
Thank you, sir. State requires that each political subdivision in the state, except counties, to fix their ad valorem property tax rates not later than September 1st for entry in the tax books. Should any political subdivision whose taxes are collected by the county collector of revenue fail to fix its ad valorem property tax rate by September 1st, then no tax rate other than the rate, if any, necessary to pay the interest and principal on any outstanding bonds shall be certified for that year. The staff memo explains how the property tax levies for the upcoming year were derived. The proposed 2018 levy, based upon the principle of revenue neutrality mandated by the Hancock Amendment, is $1.2857 per $100 of assessed valuation. This is the same as the 2017 tax rate. This is based on the final assessed information received from Cass County. That concludes staff report.
Thank you. Any questions of staff? Mr. Holman.
Just check for facts here. We are not raising taxes again. Is that a correct statement?
That's correct.
And it's been a number of years that we have not raised taxes. I believe we're into the 12th, 13th year or something like that. Am I right?
Approximately 13 years not raising, and the last 2 years it's actually gone down. And this actually represents a rollback where we're not capturing but could of 0.1930, 19.30 cents.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you, Cindy. This does require a public hearing, and so I'll open the public hearing at this time. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to address the council with regard to the 2018 tax levy, please come forward, state your name and address for the record, and try to keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. If there is none, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And is there anything else, Mr. Fearborn, on this? You care to?
That concludes staff report, sir.
Okay, thank you. So I would entertain a motion to dispose of the first reading of Bill 3382.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve Bill 3382, setting the 2018 tax levy.
I'll second the motion, sir.
Thank you, sir. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3382. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 7 yes, 1 absent. Could I please have the first reading of Bill 3381 by title only?
The first reading of Bill 3381 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, establishing a procedure to disclose potential conflicts of interest and substantial interest for certain officials and candidates for elective offices.
Thank you. Is there a staff report?
Thank you, Your Honor. I would ask Ms. Warner to make a staff report on this agenda item.
Thank you, sir. Missouri law requires political subdivisions with operating budgets over $1 million to adopt an ordinance at an open meeting, making public its method of disclosing potential conflicts of interest. The only officials required to file a financial disclosure statement for the following year are the Chief Purchasing Officer and Chief Administrative Officer, and any employee or elected officials who have had a transaction in excess of $500 with the City of Raymore. That concludes my staff report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Yes, Mr. Burke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Question for staff. I feel like that we've had this ordinance recently, a very similar one. Maybe it was just a little different, but haven't we?
You actually had the report from the city clerk that what needed to be filed by myself and the chief purchasing officer had been filed, sir, under staff reports.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you. If there's nothing else, is there a motion to dispose of Bill 3381?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve Bill 3381, financial disclosure ordinance.
I'll second the motion, sir.
Thank you, sir. The motion has been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3381. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 7 yes, 1 absent. Could I please have the first, this is a resolution, so could I please have the reading of Resolution 1848 by title only?
The reading of Resolution 1848 by title only, a resolution of the City of Raymore, Missouri, amending the schedule of fees.
Thank you. This requires a public hearing, so I'll open the public hearing at this time and ask for a staff report.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would ask Ms. Watson to make staff report on this agenda item.
Thank you, sir. The item before you is to amend the schedule of fees for a few items. It is recommended that we amend the items for the License Tax Review Committee that met on July 11th to increase the excise tax license by the construction cost index for July 2018, as well as the Parks and Recreation Board recommended a number of changes, as in addition to staff recommended changes for the buildings inspection fees and the water sewer fees as discussed with the annual rate model. And that concludes staff report.
Thank you. There are several changes that Ms. Watson has outlined for us here tonight. So are there any questions of her? Okay. Mr. Fearborn.
I would dovetail off of that. The reason that this is actually listed for the council's information as a public hearing is only one of these fees actually requires a public hearing, and that is if you're going to be increasing or changing the sewer connection that is on here, or the sewer rate that is on here. It's kind of nifty to put them all together like this because it, number one, gives us the revenues that are going to be presented to you in each of these particular funding mechanisms next Monday night, solidifies that for our staff report to you all, and it also allows, quite honestly, the flexibility for the public to talk about any of the changes in the fees that we're going to do in addition to just the sewer rate. So we really feel like it's a real good step for transparency. That concludes staff report, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Fearborn. Any further questions? Yes, Ms. Abdelgawad.
And just to mention, I know this was approved before tonight as far as that sewer rate, but the sewer rate is going down, not going up, just for clarification.
Thank you. Anyone else? So since there is a public hearing on this, I would open it to someone from the floor. If anyone from the community would like to address the council on this particular item at this time, please step forward, state your name and address for the record, and keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. Seeing and hearing none, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing at this time and entertain a motion to dispose of Resolution 18-48.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve Resolution 1848, amending the schedule of fees.
I'll second the motion, sir.
Thank you. Motion been made and seconded to approve Resolution 1848. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 7-0, one absent. Okay, please have the first reading of Bill 3386 by title only.
The first reading of Bill 3386 by title only, an ordinance prohibiting the parking of vehicles at certain times along both sides of Elm Street from Madison Street to Jefferson Street and authorizing the mayor to declare this as an emergency.
Thank you. Is there a staff report?
Thank you, sir. I would ask Mr. Krass to make the staff report for this agenda item.
Thank you, Mr. Fearborn, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Following the close of the 2017-2018 school year, city staff met with administrators from the Ray-Pec School District to discuss a number of pedestrian safety issues regarding the elementary schools in the city. One of the items discussed was the possibility of restricting parking along Elm Street between Madison and Jefferson during arrival and departure times. School district, attached to our memo is a letter from the school district dated July 30th formalizing that request. City staff has reviewed the request and agrees with it. In order for these measures to be in place prior to the start of the school year on Wednesday, staff is requesting an emergency read of this ordinance. That, excuse me, that concludes staff report.
Thank you, Michael. And you passed out an amended, just that the title was a little bit out of sync with what you were attempting to do because we're going to put in certain times. And it is my understanding that those certain times will mirror the times that we have now for the speed limit along that school zone. Is that correct, sir?
That is correct, sir.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions of staff? Ms. Abdelgawad.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we're doing an emergency read tonight so it can be in place before school starts. Do we have signs ready to place out there already, or would we put up temporary signs?
Actually, the sign bases are in place, and we will be putting them, bolting them in the ground first thing in the morning.
Assuming council approval.
Yeah, no, we understand. We understand. Actually, this is kind of at the urgency of the school district. It kind of crept up on us. Somebody dropped the ball. I wouldn't say who, but it got dropped in our lap, Mike's lap. I did it, Mike. Anyway, so anyone else? Yes, Mr. Kellogg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I've got I guess, I don't want to classify it as a concern, but I got no other word for it. But my concern is what notification have we put out, or we attempted to put out to the neighbors in that area? Are they aware of this, that this is coming? You know, because we are going to be doing this in emergency reading, so it will be dealt with tonight. And I just would hate to have them blindsided by something. I mean, I understand what this is all about and the rationale behind it, but I don't want the community to feel like that we can just come in here and use an emergency reading mechanism to do whatever we want. And I know that's not what our intent is, but I just don't want that perception out there. So I'm just kind of curious what kind of notifications that the neighbors that are directly can be affected have been known.
No, sure. Mr. Fearborn and I have had that conversation. You want to answer that, Jim?
Couple of different things. Mike, did we do door hangers yet?
We have not.
We'll be doing the door hangers in conjunction with this so that they know that they're out there. We'll get them up tomorrow, that it goes into effect the next day. If anecdotally, the neighbors are going to be very pleased about this because you can't get a car up that street during these particular times because they park on both sides of the street facing both ways. So they'll actually appreciate it in that they can get through and their driveways aren't going to be blocked anymore during these times as well, which has also occurred on occasion. But we'll get out there and get the hangers up. It's actually, we do this for the school district. It's the school district should probably be the point, but we'll go ahead and put these up because they'll interpret them. Well, it's about 50-50. People interpret those school zone signs as being a school district thing versus a city thing. But it gets a little mixed up, but we'll also coordinate with the school district so that they're putting things out to folks in the neighborhood.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Townsend.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I understand the intent of the order is to prevent cars from temporarily parking along the street during the drop-off and pickup times. And most schools have a traffic pattern for that. What is the pattern for this particular school? Do we know that?
Yes, we do.
Folks are supposed to make a right turn off of Madison and go through the north parking lot and then circle back through the parking lots that are in the to the west of the school and adjacent to Memorial Park, and then circle back through the front of the building and then exit on the south side. What happens is some of the folks are parking on Elm Street to avoid the traffic patterns there at the elementary school.
Okay, so they have an established pattern. This is just to prevent them from parking across the street and kids with the crosswalk, crossing guard to prevent them from walking into traffic and trying to get around parked cars and such.
This is to keep folks who are trying to keep from doing that from violating it. You have children darting in and out between cars trying to make it up in between those cars that are parked as they're leaving. Very difficult situation. It's the elementary school that serves Original Town. It was built for Original Town, not for, and back in the day when people actually went to school on school buses or walked, and that doesn't exist too much anymore. So,
all right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Zur, do we do a vote on the first reading? Okay. So if there's no further discussion, I would entertain a motion to approve the first reading of Bill 3386.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve Bill 3386, amending traffic code, no parking.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3386. Any further discussion? Yes, Mr. Burke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I called Jenica Miller, the principal of Raymore Elementary today, and talked to her about the situation. Then later I went and drove and checked out the situation, the actual street. If you remember, Old Town is a part of our overlay district where they do not wish to have curbs. They want it to be as much as it was, 100 years ago as possible. And that particular stretch, there are only four, I believe there's only four driveways there, and they're almost all gravel. And another issue that hasn't been brought up here is people use those driveways to do a K-turn. They turn in and they back out, and while they're backing out, that puts kids at more risk, even as multiple people are doing this at the same time. And the principal said that today she tried to talk to several new families coming in with kindergartners, said, oh, do you need to have the car riders, because they put a little placard up in the window so they know the family member, so that way if it's raining they can call in and say, hey, send out the Burks, their rides here. And multiple people said, oh no, I'm just going to drop them off in front of the school and they can run across the street. And that is certainly, that's a nightmare for me. I drive to school every, day, and it's dark half the time, and no one wants to have a child hit.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion? Yep, do it. It's not a public hearing. Good to go? Okay. All those in favor of the motion? Motion carries 7-0, one absent. Could I please have the second reading, since this is an emergency read, could I please have the second reading of Bill 3386 in its entirety?
The second reading of Bill 3386 in its entirety. An ordinance prohibiting the parking of vehicles at certain times along both sides of Elm Street from Madison Street to Jefferson Street and authorizing the mayor to declare this as an emergency. Whereas Ray-Pec School District has requested parking be restricted on Elm Street to improve pedestrian safety, and whereas the Raymore City Council has determined the need to amend specific sections of the traffic code, Schedule 3, Table 3A of the Raymore City Code. Now therefore be it ordained by the Council of the City of Raymore, Missouri as follows. Section 1, the amendment is set forth, the amendment set forth is to enable the Raymore Police Department to enforce prohibitions against parking along Elm Street and to improve the pedestrian and motorist safety during school arrival and dismissal times. Section 2, the current traffic code, Section 3, parking limited or prohibited, Table 3A, prohibited parking at all times, location, will be amended by the addition of the following location. Along both sides of Elm Street from Madison Street to Jefferson Street from 7:45 a.m. to 8:45 a.m. and 3:30 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. Section 3, effective date. The effective date of approval of this ordinance shall be coincidental with the mayor's signature and attestation by the city clerk. Section 4, severability. If any section, subsection, sentence, clause, phrase, or portion of this ordinance is for any reason held invalid or unconstitutional by any court of competent jurisdiction, such portion shall be deemed a separate, distinct, and independent provision, and such holding shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions thereof. Section 5, emergency reading. In order to have these restrictions in place prior to the start of the 2018-2019 school year, the mayor hereby authorizes the passage of this ordinance as an emergency bill. Duly read this first and second time this 13th day of August 2018 by the following vote.
Thank you, ma'am. So is there a motion to dispose of the second reading of Bill 3386?
Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Sir, just a reminder, council rules and procedures, every proposed emergency reading ordinance shall allow for public comment to be heard prior to a vote being taken.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Wasn't noted on the agenda, so sorry. I skipped over that. So after the second reading there, I would open it up to the public to comment on this particular item. If anyone would like to discuss this item with the council, please step forward, state your name and address for the record, and try to keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. Seeing and hearing none, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing at this time, and I would entertain a motion to dispose of the second reading of Bill 3386.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve Bill 3386, amending traffic code, no parking.
I'll second the motion, sir.
Thank you. The motion has been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3386. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 7-0, one absent. Okay, so could I have, please have the first reading of Bill 3384, Bill 3383 by title only.
The first reading of Bill 3383 by title only. An ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement for the purchase of the FlexNet meter reading system from Core and Main LP.
Thank you. Is there a staff report, sir?
Thank you, Your Honor. I would ask Ms. Watson to make the staff report on this item.
Thank you, sir. The item before you is a project that includes the purchase and installation of new residential water meters for the residents that have not been upgraded to the census digital meters. It also includes the purchase and installation of a redundant meter reading system that will allow us to read the meters at one time within the finance office. And that concludes staff report.
Thank you. Any questions of staff? Thank you, Cindy. Is there a motion to dispose of the first reading of Bill 3383?
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve Bill 3383, award a contract, FlexNet meter reading system.
I'll second the motion, sir.
Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3383. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 7-0, one absent. Could I please have the first reading of Bill 3384 by title only?
The first reading of Bill 3384 by title only, an ordinance authorizing the issuance of $1,190,000 principal amount of the tax-exempt special obligation bonds, Series 2018 of the City of Raymore, Missouri, and authorizing certain other documents and actions by the city.
Thank you. Is there a staff report?
Thank you, sir. I would ask Ms. Watson to make a staff report on this item, and Mr. Todd Goffey is here if you would have any technical questions of him as well.
Thank you, sir. The item before you is to fund the purchase of the FlexNet and the Census digital meters that you just voted on prior. And that concludes staff report.
Okay. Any questions? Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you.
If that's it, we'll go ahead and I'd entertain a motion to dispose of the first reading of Bill 3384.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve Bill 3384, Special Obligation Series 2018 bond issue.
I'll second the motion, sir.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3384. Any further discussion? You guys don't want it from Todd or Sid? Nothing? Okay. Sure, Mr. Townsend.
I'll ask the question. This bond has, we've already identified an underwriter for this. There's already a bank already identified to fund this.
Yes, sir. We put out a request for qualifications, request for quotes to 3 firms, and the award of this is to
Commerce Bank.
Thank you, Commerce Bank.
Just want to double check, make sure that we don't have, this is not going out for negotiation.
I thought it was no.
Okay, thank you.
No, we don't, wherever possible, I avoid negotiated sales like this. It doesn't seem to be as transparent and as competitive as we've tried to establish a standard for.
Sure. Anyone else? That's it. Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously. 7 yes. 1 absent. This brings us to public comments. If anyone would like to address the council at this time, please step forward, identify yourself for the record, and keep your comments to a maximum of 5 minutes.
Ron Grant, 503 Winslow Drive, Herald Estates. And I just want to publicly thank again the council for your cooperation. It was a long process. We think it was the right thing to do for our city as well as our neighborhood. And we look forward to making sure that we keep that neighborhood as looking at a fine jewel that it really is. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? There's no one else, so we'll move on to Mayor Council communication. I'll start with Mr. Berenson.
No comment tonight, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Belgood.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nothing tonight from me either.
Okay. Mr. Barber.
I have nothing tonight.
Okay. Mr. Holman.
I'll break the trend, Your Honor. I have 2 things. One, just we talked about and passed the no parking zone for 1 hour there during school. Everybody forgets Wednesday. You've been going down Fox Ridge Drive at a pretty good time, but come Wednesday morning when that school opens, that the police are going to be out there and they're going to be enforcing the speed, and someone is inevitably going to get stopped and maybe get a ticket, and they're going to be upset. So for the 5 of you that are watching on TV, I'm giving you an apt warning at all the school districts starting Wednesday. Make sure you slow down, obey the speed limit, stop at the stop signs, because the police will be out there, and they will be out there for that purpose, because there's going to be a change in the environment in about 48 hours, and we don't want anybody to get hurt. And the second thing I have is I really think, Your Honor, we may need to look at a policy, having watched Ms. Watson go back and forth to the podium for 4 times tonight. Usually that's reserved for Mr. Crass or Mr. Catterett, that perhaps we should order Mr. Fearborn to give them a late start day the next day. And in Jeannie's case, if she has to read 2 bills in their entirety, we could do the same for her. That's all I have, sir.
There you go. Okay. And thanks for the reminder, though. That's a good reminder for Wednesday. Yeah. Mr. Kellogg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to thank the gentleman from Herald Estates for coming up and being a part of this. It was a very long process. I'm happy that this did happen. I believe it is the right thing for not only your neighborhood, but for our city and, you know, the future of everything that we have to look out for. It wasn't that long ago we had to fight some legal battles over with the DNR, and I see that's one of the reasons why I supported that is preventative of that, and looking forward into the future that we don't ever have to go through that again. So again, thank you for all of your help, all of your work, and everybody's work in that neighborhood. Please pass that along. So thank you again. The other thing that I would comment on tonight is when Mr. McMurdo gave his report and talking about preparedness and that. And I had an opportunity to ask staff that question, but I failed. But I'll mention it here. Always an opportunity, I think, to something like that, to reach out to our area employers, our big employers, and give that to them. I'll give you a little insight what my employer does for us. We have Safety Tuesday, Safety Wednesday, whatever it is. There's one day set aside during our meetings that is set aside for safety. That there would fit right in there with those real germane topics that I see as an employee that would help me in the time of an emergency. If an emergency happened while I was at work trying to get home. I remember the day that the Royals played in the playoffs, and me trying to get home was a nightmare. And I only live 14 minutes away from work, and it took me over 40 minutes that day. So, that's kind of information that, if it gets out there to our employers, our area employers, I think it'd be great. So thanks a lot, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate it.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to snicker when you were ending it there. I was thinking of we don't have to worry about that this year.
Amen, brother. Nor the Super Bowl.
Mr. Townsend.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have one quick comment I wanted to highlight. Mr. Holman brought it up, and if I heard correctly, with regard to our taxes, we haven't raised taxes in 13 years. With respect to our budget, for 14 years, I think they've received a distinguished award for their budget
preparation.
For the preparation of their budget.
That's correct, sir.
And hopefully when we see it next week, it will be the same as well. But that's a testament to the staff. It's a testament to the city with regard to their abilities to manage the budget, to listen to the community. Even with that, reducing and leveling the tax, if you will, as the city's portion of the tax, I should say. Still have the RAC was brought online.
Yep.
Have Centerview was brought online. We have Hawk Ridge Park being brought online. That's outstanding. So hopefully we will continue that trend in years to come. But kudos to staff. And hopefully, as Mr. Holman has said, for the 5 residents who are listening tonight, they would listen to that and echo that throughout the community, that we are trying our best, as staff as well, as trying to level best to be good stewards of the people's money. So again, thank you.
Yes, sir. Mr. Burke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've got 2 things. I wanted to thank the citizens of Raymore, and also Peculiar, I guess, for allowing me to teach here for 20 years. This is I came here in '98, and I remember when I needed to do my job interview, I drove to Flying J with some friends the night before, and asked a guy mopping, hey, do you have any idea where the high school is around here? And so then the next day I went to my interview. But I was able, we had meet the teacher night right before this, and I was walking down the hall seeing students that I know when I had them in 98, they were 18, so they're pushing 40 now, and they were walking their kids to their classes, and that was pretty exciting. And second thing, I wanted to thank the high school principal as well as the superintendent, some of the other leadership in the district. They are taking a strong move to ban cell phones during school this year. And when the bell rings, you're supposed to put your cell phone needs to be put away. When you have a passing period, you can get it out and check it. And it's another thing that we're trying to do to just reduce the amount of stress and emotion and some of the cyberbullying and other things that are going on, where someone will ask for a pass to the bathroom and then they don't come back. It's not they're in there doing something. They might be in the bathroom crying and texting 2-3 friends to come in and cry with them because something that somebody said about them. And I'm really impressed that they have the leadership to do that. The sarcasm in me would say that that wasn't going to happen. So I'm really hoping that all the adults will be on board with it, and it should make their education better as they concentrate.
Thank you, Mr. Burke. And for myself, I want to thank the Parks Department. Nate's sitting back there in the back, and Steve Rulo over here. You guys did a great job on the ribbon cutting at the RAC last Monday night or Monday afternoon. Thank my colleagues up here that were able to make it, and the folks that showed up. It was a great turnout. Probably had, 150, 200 people show up to the ribbon cutting. So there is a lot of excitement in the air about the programs that will be coming about with the Recreational Activity Center. So thank you for such a great opening ceremony there. And the other thing is I want to give staff kudos. You know, something Mr. Townsend just mentioned. I was at a business luncheon the other day with several of the business leaders here in the community. And they were kind of commiserating because they've got business connections in other communities around the area. And one of the things that they did tell me is that when we were sitting there, they said they did start bragging on Raymore, and they bragged about how easy the city is to work with and city staff is to work with, and how attentive they are to their needs if they bring them to their attention. And that's a testament to the group at this front table and those at the back table that they really work hard to make this a great livable city. And I really do appreciate that. It makes me feel really good when I'm sitting in a group of people and they're bragging about the city like that. So I wanted to echo what you said, Mr. Townsend. It is a great group that we have here and a great team. And with that, I don't have anything else. Do we have any reason to move into executive session?
We do, sir, for personnel.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, sir. I'll entertain a motion to move into executive session.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we go into executive session to discuss personal matters in accord with RSMO 610.021, subsection 3.
I'll second the motion, sir.
Thank you. Motion been made and seconded to move into executive session. Please have a roll call.
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Berenson?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Circo absent. Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Kellogg?
Yes.
Councilmember Townsend?
Yes.
We are adjourned to executive session, and when that meeting is over, we'll come back out and adjourn from regular session.